there! Today's video is all about how you can use just one ink pad. I'm going to use this little guy, but just one ink pad to make your projects. But just by using one ink pad doesn't mean you have to use just this one color. I'm going to show you how you can get different gradations from just one color. So go to your room, pick your favorite ink pad, and let's dive right in. By the way, my phone is balanced on my Chick-fil-A cup. I feel very fancy today. Okie dokie, so I'm using Macchiato Ink Pad. It's one of the newer colors from the Catherine Pooler ink line. And to start, I'm just found a solid image here. This is a little hat from a Peking Pets stamp set. It's a little cute dog and cat stamp set, and it has little hats and little doodads that go with it. So anyway, this is a solid image. This is what I found, just to show a couple things. So you can do where you stamp it regularly and then stamp it again, and that's called stamping off or second generation stamping. You can apply pressure lightly on one side of the stamp and heavy pressure on the other side of the stamp, and you'll get like a shading, if you will. You can do a little bit of rocking and rolling. Please excuse the purple tape on my finger there. I had stabbed myself with one of those little snippets of the die that I didn't cut off because I was lazy, so it poked me right under the fingernail. So what's their crafter going to do? They're going to grab some craft tape they have sitting on their desk. Anyway. So you can stamp it really light. You can ink it up twice and stamp it. You can apply different pressures to your stamp as you're inking it, and you'll get different gradations. You can do what I just did there, which is just take a little rag and kind of remove a little bit of it, and you can get a nice shading effect, which I think is quite pretty. I'll zoom in on that in just a minute. So you can do a little shadow stamping, which is basically where you offset it a little bit. I didn't do very good there, so let me try it again. So you basically stamp it and then go offset just a little bit, and it creates a little shadow. So there's a lot that you can do with it. So just try different pressures when you're going in on your ink pad. Stamp it off once, twice, 3 times even sometimes. Just play around with the pressure and see what kind of colors you can get. Also, I did a little basic ink blending so you could see what color the brown actually is. Now, this is a stencil also from one of the newer releases from Catherine Pooler. All the exact supplies I'll use will be linked below in the description. But I'm going in with a very heavy hand there in the center, and then I'm barely touching. It's hard to see because, like, you're not in my craft room, but I'm barely touching the rest of the stencil as I'm blending in circular motions. And then when I lift up that stencil, you'll see different colors of the brown there. And as I was playing with this, I discovered something very interesting about this ink that even Catherine wasn't aware of. I sent her a text when I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. But anyway, as you lift it, you can see it's super dark on the center there, and then it lightens up a little bit as you go around the edges there. That's just simply by lightening your hand, your grip. Don't be so hard with your pressure. So all those different gradations and shadows and such are all from that one ink pad. Now, I've got some texture paste, and it's a matte texture paste. Now, I'll be honest with you, I haven't opened this stuff in like 4 years, so I'm surprised that stuff isn't all dried up to nothing. Now, I use my finger. I wouldn't recommend that, but that's all I had at the moment. And I'm going ahead and blending that out there just with some matte texture paste. I believe they have white texture paste as well. I'm just using what I have. You know me. Use what you got till you don't have it anymore. And I'm just blending that through just to show you what's going to happen here. And in a second, I'm going to get some white embossing paste as well. So basically, I tinted that matte textured paste. I think it would have shown up better if I had used white textured paste, to be honest with you, but I didn't have it, and I was just playing around and brought you along for the ride with me. So I hope you're enjoying the ride. But just blending that through, I am using a flexible spatula, which I enjoy very much. This is from Tonic Studios. If you have a flexible spatula in your kitchen, you can go grab that too. But I especially love the fact that it's flexible. So I'm able to really get in the nooks and crannies of all stencils, including the ones that are incredibly detailed. So this is the white embossing paste that I'm using. And again, I just pressed my ink pad onto my surface, and then I'm just creating my own tinted embossing paste. So I'm just spreading it on like icing a cake, or spreading it on like butter. I don't know what I like more, butter on bread or icing on cake. It's a toss-up. I guess it depends on if I'm in the mood for sweets, but let's be serious. I'm always in the mood for sweets. I don't think there's ever a time where I will turn down a sweet. Sadly, my waistline agrees. Anywho, spread it on, whatever, have a good time. So on the top, you've got matte textured paste. On the bottom, you have white, which we've now tinted. Well, both we've tinted. Textured paste, all right? Then I'm going to lift that up and let's see what you get. Whee! So we're going to let that dry. So I'm going to pop that off to the side and let it dry. But before I clean my stencil, I'm going to go ahead and just rub some white stencil paste right through that dirty stencil. I'm not going to clean it. It doesn't matter. So it is going to have a little bit of tinting of whatever brown ink was still on that stencil. So I'm going to rub that through and then bada bang, bada boom, I'm done. Now clean it when you're done. If you're using any kind of paste or mediums, clean your stencils, clean your brushes, clean it all. Don't let it dry on there because if you do, it will be a pain in the you-know-what to clean off. All right, so we got to let that dry. I don't know, I walked away and did something. I think I did a load of laundry. Boring. And then came back and it was dry. But anyway, let's go ahead and let me show you another thing you can do with the brown ink or any ink pad that you have. Most of them, you can do some watercoloring with them. So I have a tub of water up off camera that you can't see. This is a scratch piece of watercolored paper. I'm just wetting my brush and dipping into the watercolor there, and you can get a beautiful blend. That is a softer color of brown. This is actually a beautiful brown. So I'm going to go in and just put a little less water and I'll get a more intense brown. So the more water you add, obviously the lighter color you'll get. But two totally different color browns, just depending on how much water you add to it. So all using the same brown ink pad. I mean, yeah. All right, so here's that stencil that we did, all with the same color, just differing pressures. Heavy pressure, heavy-handed in the middle, lightened up a little bit around the edges. Another way you can use an ink pad is by using a blending pen. But here's the cool thing. There is a purple undertone to this ink. And I texted Catherine. I was like, look it. So that purple is from the white embossing paste, somehow made it turn purple. And the purple I'm pointing to right now, that's from just flicking on some water on some blended cardstock. I just basically took an ink blending tool and blended on some of that brown and flicked on some water. And I was like, hey, it was purple when it dried. I thought that was so cool. So anyway, this is a blender pen. It's a couple bucks, honestly. And I'm just going in and adding a little bit of color here and there to some items that I have already pre-stamped using, again, Macchiato, because the purpose of this video is to show you all that you can do with just one ink pad. So I'm using the same color in the blender pen, just adding a little bit of color. These are images that I have cut and die cut from the Fall Calls for Lattes stamp and die set, also from Catherine Pooler. And all I'm doing is adding very little bits of color here and there with that blender pen. I'm using the side of it, and I'm using basically the lid as my palette. And that's it. Not a whole lot's going on. But as I noticed, that leaf got a little wet. It's hard to pick up the camera, but that's when I first noticed there was some purple going on there. So I decided after I went ahead and added a little bit of color, I'm going to spritz it with some water and then just let it dry naturally and see if I can pick up a little bit more of that purple. You can see it very clearly in person. Unfortunately, it doesn't pick up as best on camera, but it's there, I promise. Now, before I move on, let me talk to you. You already know about the thing to the left. The one to the right is the matte, texture matte paste, and the embossing paste was on the bottom that we did at the beginning of the video. I thought I had captured this on camera, but I didn't. But all I did was use a blending tool and blend some of that brown ink over in the bottom corner, as you can see, and then I just flicked on some water. That is it. That is all I did. Sorry, I failed to capture that on camera. But these are the two panels I'm going to work off of to build my two cards. So here are all the die cuts. I added some water. I allowed it to dry. It is very visual in person. I apologize. I can't pick it up on camera. I don't know. Now here's my double-sided foam roll. I swear I've had this for about 5 years now. Big as my head. And some of these pieces I'm going to pop up on foam dimension. Some I'm not. So I'm just going to start building up this card, basically piling up some of the little cups and doodads from the same stamp set. I'm using all one stamp set, all one die set, and one ink pad for this card. All right, so I'm just going to start popping it up. Some I'm going to use foam dimension. And basically this is my process of how I build cards. I just kind of stick stuff on there, like lay it on the card, and if I like it, I'll glue it down, whether it's with foam dimension or regular glue. And if I don't like it, no
no big deal. I just move it off the paper. So you're kind of seeing how my brain works. Do I like that pumpkin there? I don't know. Should I put a leaf there? I don't know. Oh, I like that pumpkin there. So let me go ahead and glue it down. I mean, this is literally how my brain thinks. Now, normally I like a little more color to my cards, at least a pop of color somewhere, but this video is all about how you can get more bang out of your one ink pad. So I'm not going to do it. I'm going to refrain from adding a little bit of orange to that pumpkin, even though I want to. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. So anyway, gluing, stacking, you know the drill. That's what's happening here. And I'm kind of digging the card. It looks cute. I just need to add a sentiment, and there's a perfect little spot. I don't know what I'm doing here. Stop it. It's making me dizzy. Before I finish up the second card, I want to thank FlexiSpot for sponsoring today's video. You know I love my standing desk. I'm about to show you it again in just a second. But they're having their Tech Day special, which is coming up the 7th through the 9th of this month, and you can earn up to $200 off. If it's something you're interested in, check it out because they don't have deals like this often. Oh, how I love my standing desk from FlexiSpot. I adore this thing. I can stand up, I can sit down, I can do everything. I like the look of it. It's got that bamboo top, so it's super durable. It has memory settings, so if you don't want to keep changing, raising it up and down, you can set your memories. So you can stand up and work. I'm super short, so I wanted to show you how high it is. I'm 5'1". To give you an idea. You can do lunges underneath it if you want to. If you don't want to stand, put it at your height. Obviously, I was being silly. But let's just say you're tired and you don't want to stand. We'll pull up your chair and lower your desk. Say hi to my dog. So I love this desk. I love the look of it. Let me show you the weight. I'm going to grab my teenage son. He weighs more than me. I'm not going to say how much because then I'll give away my weight, but I wanted to show that he fits nice and comfortable on this. The motors work well. It's made very sound. I dig it. So after I got this desk, I shared it on my channel and a whole bunch of you really, really liked it. So I reached out to them and I wanted a different chair. I don't like my chair that I'm using now, so I was able to get this chair. I love this chair. It's got that back support that you can take on or off, and so much so my husband took it.
Why did you steal my desk?
Well, I needed a work desk, and I like the versatility of, being able to sit
This
down.
is my desk.
But you said I could use it.
Use it, not take it.
Well, finders keepers.
And thank you, FlexiSpot, for sponsoring my video today. Told you my desk was cool. Anywho, all right, so here's this is a very busy card, so I didn't think stacking up the edge was going to work. So I'm just going to add 2 little mugs here to the bottom. I was able to, I'm sure it was meant to it was totally designed to do this, but that missue fit right inside one of those mugs there, or cups or whatever. And so that's where I put it. So here I'm like, this is, too busy, not having it. It's not going to work up there either, Laurel. I like where you're going with this, but no. So don't be afraid to layer stuff around in your cards. Don't commit to it yet. Don't glue it down. See where you like it. Then glue it down. Don't be afraid to add dimension on some of your items. Pop some things up. Hey, you can even add dimension twice by gluing dimension on top of dimension and making it even higher. Have some fun. It doesn't add that much bulk. And just by adding 2 layers of dimension, by basically adding tape on top of tape, it's not going to add more postage. All right, I'm cheap. So if it added more postage, I wouldn't do it. So anyway, let me show you a look at the finished cards here. All using one ink pad except for the sentiment. I stamped it with white pigment ink and heat set it with white embossing powder. All from the same stamp set though. But I just love all the texture and the different colors of the brown. The fact that some purple came out of the brown was like, holy moly. I thought that was friggin' awesome, and what a surprise to me. So, look at your ink pads, man. You can get a lot out of one ink pad. You don't gotta have the full set syndrome. I'm just saying. Speaking of, I've got a couple of videos on just that topic right here. Check them out, and I'll see you over there. Bye-bye.